really don't know how to start this video off because I've been battling myself with how I'm going to do this. I was going to try to do something like this 3 days ago, and every time I find myself wanting to do it and thinking about what I'm going to say, I get angry. I get to the point of rage. I get to the point of tears sometimes, and you know, and it's funny. It's funny because I don't know. I might share this on my Facebook. I'm getting tired of having to explain a lot of stuff, and I only have 24 followers on here anyway. And some people who don't subscribe and all that other stuff, it's ridiculous. I mean, I made this because I like talking about pop culture stuff. I like talking about anime. I like talking about comics and movies and fun stuff like Pokemon and Dragon Ball, Power Rangers, Kamen Rider. I like talking about fun stuff. And I'm not an influencer, and I don't have a base, and I don't even know if my voice can reach anybody. But I know that I've educated at least some people who follow me, and some people who call me friend on Facebook. Some people I've written off because of the ignorance. And I'm gonna try to explain this from the pop culture stance. Unless you have legitimately been in a coma for a whole year and you wake up and you're like, what the hell is going on in the world? You already understand that the Black Lives Matter movement, the George Floyd, justice for George Floyd, justice for Breonna Taylor, justice for Ahmaud Arbery, the movement that's been going on for technically, I want to say the movement's been going on for 2 weeks, but the protests and everything that follows after been going on for at least between 6 or 7 days, which has resulted in people hijacking these protests with riots, with looting. We have our black businesses, and even Latino communities, the brown businesses. You have people who have started from zero to build up their stuff. Their things are being destroyed, which is not what this movement's about. But at the same time, people are focusing on targets being destroyed, and they speak up about that, and they're not speaking about the lives that have been lost and injustices that have occurred to black people, the systematic racism or anything else like that. And what really pushed me forward speaking about this is looking through someone's page, and I had noticed on my timeline, I said, this person really hasn't posted anything. Let me see if they said anything. And I saw that they were talking about, what if your kids were police and what is this going to happen? It was just long, and it pissed me off. And then someone replied, blah, 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 Dr. King would want this. Dr. King said that a riot is the language of the unheard. And I remember when Colin Kapernick had first started taking the knee. And even I didn't understand it because I had friends and family in the armed forces. And when I think about standing and saluting the flag, I'm thinking about the armed forces. I'm not really thinking about the country behind it. Because if we're going to be honest, this country could give a fuck less about anyone who is brown, anyone who isn't Anglo-Saxon Christian. It is what it is. But when we get to the deep root of why he was kneeling, because of police brutality, and now we have people, we've been protesting kindly and quietly for so long, and now that things have hit the fan, proverbially, literally, things are being burned. Now everyone is saying, well, how come we can't do things this way? And I'm going to try to talk to at least the people who I know are entertained by pop culture things. Because when I think about this, I think about, talk to you Marvel movie people. Think about Captain America for a minute. Since take out all comic books, and even in the comic books, Cap did not stand for crap that has been going on. This man had a whole platoon of people from different races, countries, backgrounds following him to end the oppression of the Nazi regime. And we can fast forward to his third movie, Civil War, where you have Iron Man. You guys like Iron Man, right? A superhero saw that the things that his friends were doing were sometimes getting people hurt who were not meant to get hurt. So he felt that there needed to be some type of litigation to at least regulate what they're doing. And that's loosely based off of something that was much worse on the comics, but art imitates life, right? How can you yourself say that you love Captain America or you love Iron Man when what they were fighting for in this fictional universe is relatively a reflection of what is going on right now? Or I'll even do you one better. Stan Lee made the X-Men in the 60s based on the civil rights movement that was going on. And if you look at that first X-Men group, yeah, they were all white kids, but they were all people with different abilities that looked different than normal people, and they were shunned for it, and they were living in a world where they just wanted peace and they wanted to do better in it. And Stan Lee, rest his soul, he understood what was going on. He had always understood what was going on. If you go back and look at some of Stan's corners in his old comic books, a lot of times he's speaking out against bullies. He's speaking out against racism, against fascism, against sexism, against all of that stuff. Even to one of my favorite superheroes, Spider-Man. I had the honor of being able to hear him talk the year before he passed away. And he made Spider-Man have the mask because Spider-Man could be black, be white, be brown, he could be a woman, he could be a man, he could be anybody. And that was to show inclusiveness, to show that you can have the power to change the world. And a lot of times in this country, black and brown people, we don't feel there's always a ceiling. And we don't feel like we can do anything because a lot of times we are stopped from doing the things that we want. We are pushed to the worst areas of a city. We are not allowed to even defend ourselves without it looking as if we are being threatening. Or, better yet, I gotta be honest, I don't even remember where I was. I had to take a slight break because when we're thinking about these pop culture things, a lot of people try to say take politics out of comics. I just gave you two examples of two of the biggest comic names and comic tales that involve politics, that were bred and born from politics. Even when we get down to Superman, the first character to ever punch Hitler was Superman. Superman was made in response to all the Holocaust killings and everything that's going on in World War II. There's no way to take politics out of these things, especially when art is imitating life. How about I speak to you anime people? You want to know one of the big things about Dragon Ball Z, and one of the biggest centerpieces, is Frieza destroying an entire race of people because he feared them. And more black and brown people I talk to, they love Dragon Ball Z. They love Dragon Ball. They love it because they can identify with it. You have a character in Goku that comes from this race of people who they work hard. They try to fight against him and his friends. They try to fight against these oppressors. They fight against these bullies. They fight against these people who just want to oppress and overtake everyone and just destroy anything that is good. And they constantly stand up to these people time after time after time after time after time. And it's you end up finding this archetype in most of your animes. The people fighting against the oppressors. And for you Star Wars heads out there, you should really look up what a stormtrooper is. I mean, it was the rebellion against the Empire. An empire where there were no aliens. Everybody is white. Even in the First Order, everybody is white except for the First Order troopers, who were children stolen from their parents. And if you know anything about pre-Civil War era with slavery, children being stolen by giant overlords should be something that is familiar to you. I have no idea if anybody's ever going to even appreciate this video, but I'm doing this for not just myself, but to explain to you all, you cannot ignore what's going on. You cannot pretend that there is not a larger issue, especially when it comes to black people and brown people being oppressed by the police, being targeted by the police, and justice not being served when these injustices are happening to our people. This isn't black versus white. This is everyone versus racism. If you can't see that, if you think a target being on fire is way more important, if you can't see that there are protesters and then there are the looters, the rioters, the anarchists, the people who are just trying to discredit this movement and see the world burn, then I don't really know what I can tell you. I pray that you're on the right side of history, and I pray that when all of this is said and done, that there will be some actual change and some actual reformation within our police system. And I hope that at least with this video that I've at least touched someone's mind. I've touched someone to understand at least a little bit better. With that, I'm Shane. If you don't like the video, understandable, but like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell. I promise my next video is going to be at least a little bit more fun for me, but this is just something I had to get off my chest. Everyone be safe. Everyone stay blessed.